Welcome, all you sinners and sodomites, to episode 60 of Bible Stories for Atheists. I am Josh.
I'm Linz.
And we are your guides to the piously political stories, literally, literarily littering the Bible. In this episode, we are covering 2 Samuel chapters 1 through 3. That was only 3 chapters.
Wow, a lot happened in 3 chapters.
Felt like a lot. Yeah.
It's moving though.
It is.
It was moving. Listen, here's a peek behind the curtain. Sometimes I black out while we're doing these because they're so boring that I fall asleep with my eyes open. and
I have to pretend to not notice.
and then I wake back up and I'm like, I have no idea what anybody just said. And when I don't have a lot to comment about what we just listened to, that's usually why.
You're just like, God, I can't believe God did that.
That's crazy. Oh my God. I hope that works. I do not do that at all in this one.
It's a crazy one. It's definitely the beginning of David's decline.
Yeah, definitely piously political is the perfect description of this episode.
Yeah. So strap in and strap on for episode 60, Abner's series of unfortunate events.
You know what happens when I don't drink water?
I know what happens regardless of if you drink water or not.
It's worse if I don't drink water, though.
Yeah, luckily you managed to not have a migraine for Brian Posehn when we saw him the other night.
After a 2-day bout with it.
Yeah, Brian Posehn was good.
Mm-hmm.
That was a fun evening.
Are we recording? I should stop eating, huh?
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
hold on.
you gotta carve up, and also we're gonna take a break between
one more crap.
episodes,
Okay,
too.
so you're saying I should save some for?
I'm saying you can. It's up to you.
I'm gonna eat one.
I'm not in control of your body.
I know, but you are in control of this recording.
In that I'm in charge of the on-off button.
What? Hold on. Okay. When you eat wheat thins, they stick to the roof of your mouth.
Be a tag for the podcast.
Brought to you by Wheat Thins. They stick to the roof of your mouth.
Whether you want them to or not.
Why would you want them to? That's weird.
Don't fetish shame me.
I will. For stupid things. Be a weird thing to get sexually aroused by. Wheat thins
getting stuck to
the roof of your mouth.
Specifically wheat thins too.
Yeah, and your mouth, not somebody else's mouth. Not the idea of plying a wet glob of wheat thins from the roof of somebody else's mouth with your tongue.
Or something else.
Or, right, literally just getting them stuck to the inside of your own mouth.
Yeah.
So gross.
Wheat thins, the snack for perverts, I think is.
They should really,
yeah, they should lean into it. Yeah, they should embrace it.
Yep.
It just comes naturally. Anyway, with that ridiculousness, previously on BSFA, David got in good with the Philistine king of Gath, even though, he had killed their giant, and there was no mention of that, right? The Amalekites raided David's city of Ziklag, so David and his men had to go get their stuff back, if you remember.
Yes, and they didn't burn or rape or kill anything. They just took it.
The Amalekites didn't. But then when David and his men came to take their stuff back, they killed all of them, apparently. Right. And then Saul and Jonathan died in battle with the Philistines. So let's take a step back and look at David's life overall so far.
Okay.
If we cut out all the bullshit that goes along with the Bible, there's actually a believable story behind this where there's the shepherd kid who got involved with the royal family. He was put in charge of a substantial number of troops. Maybe he had a relationship with Prince Jonathan and had a falling out with the royal family. So then he goes and works for their enemy, the Philistines. While he's off doing that, that enemy kills the king. And now David is about to become king. As we're going to see pretty soon here, the pro-David propaganda in this book is ridiculously heavy-handed.
Okay.
I was watching a lecture by Dr. Joel Baden recently. It was from 2014. He had just put out a book called The Real Life of an Invented Hero, which is about exactly this, like what David's life probably really was like. And he pointed out that every time someone dies around David in the Bible, aside from like Goliath, every time somebody dies, the Bible makes perfectly clear that he had nothing to do with it. He had absolutely nothing to do with it. In fact, he was never even in the same room when it happens.
Well, that's how powerful people get things done.
Yeah.
Without dirtying their hands, right?
Right. And it's kind of, there is a question. Is that accurate? And he had people do this stuff for him? Is it that they lied and said he was just not there when it happened? And does it really matter?
It seems very convenient. When you said his story like in linear, without all the stuff, and at the end you were like, he fell out with the royal family and then went and
worked for the enemy.
But we also knew at that time, they say, he was killing Philistines as well.
Yeah, right? Or Amalekites. Yeah, I can't remember. But he was being deceitful towards them is what it says.
What it says. But then the way you said it, where you were like, while he was working for the enemy killed the king, which he knew, had he been paying attention to God and everything everybody was telling him, that he was supposed to be the next king. Yep. So really what it sounded like to me in my head when you said that was, and conveniently, the people the enemy, while he was working with them, killed the king that he was going to take over for.
Yep. And that's how the Bible kind of tries to make it seem like it's just happened. It's, it's divine providence on behalf of David, because God has decided he's destined to become king. Even though, we have free will and all that. Mm-hmm. So anyway, he points out that every time he had nothing to do with it. And then he said, think about Nabal. So David goes to Nabal demanding supplies, and Nabal refuses to give him supplies. And this is where he was drunk and God ended up stopping his heart. And it was like 7 days later, he died.
Oh,
and
Nabal
then his
died?
Wife, then his wife ends up running off with David.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. So you've got the story where David goes to Nabal demanding these supplies. Nabal refuses to give those supplies to him. And David is about to kill him. It actually says David is about to send a party and kill him. But then God does it
for him,
basically. And we're never told why. Like, we're never told why God killed Nabal. But then David gets a bunch of stuff and gets Nabal's wife.
Right.
It's
very common for a wife to just run off with the first guy she meets after her husband dies.
Right. Yeah.
She wasn't kidnapped at all.
Right. Yeah. Or maybe she was involved with it, maybe she might have poisoned him.
I think more than likely he killed him and then took the wife.
It could be. It totally could be. It wouldn't be beyond what David would do. Yeah. This also made me think, though, that maybe the whole story of David and Jonathan, of him being so close with Jonathan, was just a way of them saying, like, well, he would never have Jonathan killed, So I kind of feel like that might be the case, that maybe that whole thing is made up just for the sake of making it seem like he wouldn't have had him killed. But I was at the same time also being like, if Christians are able to just turn off their critical thinking and choose that this is what they want to believe, I feel like this is a justifiable place for us to be like, no, that was a real relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And listen, even if they did make up the story, they got real gay with it.
Yeah, they did. They went, like, I actually put in my notes, I think they went a little too far with their ruse on this.
I mean, you can be a dude's best friend, but I think if you suck his dick, that takes it a little further. And they didn't say, they didn't say the phrase
explicitly
in the Bible, but like,
I mean, it did say that Jonathan strengthened his hand with David, and didn't really specify what that meant. Yeah. The last point I have about this is I also kind of think that this might be why the only thing we really learned about Saul was that he was tall. You know, like they never have
handsome
and stuff, but they never give any like military exploits or anything like that really of his. They minimize him without like outright smearing him.
Yeah, he just seems like a big buffoon. I mean, literally, it seemed like when God picked him, it was literally because his head was like the tallest one in the bunch.
Yeah,
and
he was
God
just
was
the
like,
easiest to see.
That one.
Yeah. God had like one of those signs at a roller coaster. Must be at least this tall to be king.
Well, listen, Zacchaeus, right? He got up in the tree so that he could be taller, so that Jesus could see him.
Oh my God!
So God really does.
Is that actually what his name was?
Zacchaeus? I think so.
That's impressive that you remember it. I totally forgot about the story.
So I does feel like God has a trend of enjoying people who
are just closer to him.
Yes. Yeah. The higher the hair, the closer to God. That's what they say.
Right. Yeah. Pure mourning. So we wrapped up 1 Samuel with the death of Saul and everything, and we're starting up 2 Samuel.
Okay.
So to make it official, new book unlocked.
You have to go back and re-put that in all of our, every time you start a new book.
Oh, back to the beginning of the podcast.
Retroactively go back and add those now.
Yeah.
Look what you did.
After the death of Saul, when David had returned from defeating the Amalekites, David remained 2 days in Ziklag. On the third day, a man came from Saul's camp with his clothes torn and dirt on his head. When he came to David, he fell to the ground and did obeisance. David said to him, "Where have you come from?" He said to him, "I have escaped from the camp of Israel." David said to him, "How did things go? Tell me." He answered, "The army fled from the battle, but also many of the army fell and died. And Saul and his son Jonathan also died." Then David asked the young man who was reporting to him, "How do you know that Saul and his son Jonathan died?" The young man reporting to him said, "I happened to be on Mount Gilboa, and there was Saul leaning on his spear while the chariots and the horsemen drew close to him. When he looked behind him, he saw me and called to me. I answered, 'Here, sir.' And he said to me, 'Who are you?' I answered him, 'I am an Amalekite.' He said to me, 'Come, stand over me and kill me, for convulsions have seized me, and yet my life still lingers.' So I stood over him and killed him, for I knew that he could not live after he had fallen. I took the crown that was on his head and the armlet that was on his arm, and have brought them here to you, my lord." So this differs from the story
he asks his armor bearer to kill him, right?
Yeah.
And his armor bearer does.
No, his armor bearer did not. His armor bearer was scared. So Saul fell on his own sword.
Oh.
And then his armor bearer did the same.
That's right. Killed him.
For some fucking reason. Like, I don't know why he was scared to kill him, but then he was fine to fall on his own sword.
Yeah.
And then we get this story. And First Chronicles tells that story also, the one from First Samuel.
Oh, so Chronicles tells the same as First Samuel. This one changed it.
This one changes it.
Why do you think?
So the theory is that there's just two versions of this, like two traditions of how this went. Yeah, but if you're an evangelical that believes the Bible's perfect for some reason, you could think that maybe this guy is lying, and because he has the crown and the armlet, maybe he stole it. One thing I think is interesting about this is that they mentioned that his clothes were torn and there was dirt on his head, and that's what you do when you're mourning. You tear your clothes and you put dirt and you rub dirt on your head or something like that.
We are not mourning properly anymore, are we?
No. At least that's how Jewish people did back then.
Yeah.
The Israelites did back then. So I don't know. Like, it sounds like he mourned and everything. It sounds like he was genuine, kind of. But it's also like, you
but
just
he's an
came across
Amalekite,
him.
right?
Yeah, and
so why would he be mourning Saul?
Right. Yeah, but it also kind of like from his story, it sounds like he was with them, the Israelites. He was an Amalekite that was with the Israelites. I don't know. But it is ironic that Saul is killed by an Amalekite, since that's who he was supposed to wipe out completely back in 1 Samuel 15, and he didn't.
Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, and I didn't double check this, and I probably should have, I thought he had only left the king alive.
Right.
But there was obviously other Amalekites, because David, his town got sacked by the Amalekites.
It's not like, listen, this is going to be a crazy ass comparison, but it's not like they were doing the Holocaust. So he wasn't going around from town to town gathering up all the Amalekites.
Right.
Right. He just went to a town where there were a lot of Amalekites and took out that town. But that doesn't mean there's no Amalekites anywhere else.
Right. Yeah.
So in this story, he says that Saul asked him to kill him because of what? Was he having
he was having seizures.
Something?
Yeah, convulsions.
Yeah.
That's what he says. Yeah. But he
It didn't mention any of that in Samuel, the first book of Samuel, right?
Nope. Although, he did have issues with
Well, he had prophetic frenzies.
Yes. But he also had paranoia and that evil spirit that would come on him. I did think it was interesting that they gave him his spear in this version of the story, And then we get David's response. Then David took hold of his clothes and tore them, and all the men who were with him did the same. They mourned and wept and fasted until evening for Saul, and for his son Jonathan, and for the army of the Lord, and for the house of Israel, because they had been struck down by the sword. David said to the young man who had reported to him, "Where do you come from?" He answered, "I am the son of a resident alien, an Amalekite." David said to him, "Were you not afraid to lift your hand to destroy the Lord's anointed?" Then David called one of the young men and said, "Come here and strike him down." So he struck him down and he died. David said to him, "Your blood will be on your head, for your own mouth has testified against you, saying, 'I have killed the Lord's anointed.'" How could David have wanted Saul dead? He even had the Amalekite that killed Saul executed.
Yeah. Very convenient.
It's a lot of stuff like that in this.
I think it's funny when the Bible was like, they mourned until evening. And I'm like, that just sounds like they were sad for a couple hours and then got over it.
Yeah. What time was this?
Right. But yeah, that's fucked up. He killed the guy. And I would imagine that at this point in time, the Amalekite, everyone knew David was an Israelite that had come over to the other side at this point, right?
Of the Philistines. Yeah.
And so the Amalekites telling him all this, probably just assuming that he was like a dude in power on their side.
Yeah. So the Amalekites, I don't think would have been the same as Philistines. I think that would have been two different groups. Does that make sense?
Sure, I guess. But to me, technically, I feel like it's the Israelites against everybody else.
I know.
I mean, honestly.
It is. It is.
I certainly imagine he didn't go there thinking oh, this Israelite who defected is going to kill me because of what I did.
Yeah.
But, okay. And then, God, David, this fucker, man. The dude tells him, gives him the crown and the armband or whatever the fuck it was. And then David kills him because he killed the anointed. But first of all, the anointed said to kill him.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to die of like a health concern. He wanted to die from a sword.
Health concern. If you don't do it, this weird mole on my arm is going to do it.
Well, you said he was basically having
convulsions.
a seizure. Yeah, and he wanted him to kill him because he didn't think that he was going to make it out of the convulsions.
Right.
So he would rather have died by a sword or a spear.
If you don't do it, my prostate will.
And so he did it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, what are you supposed to do?
Right. Like, yeah. How do you,
right.
How can you really blame the guy if what he said was true?
Right.
Yeah.
And David's a real fucker because he, first of all, knows God's over this guy. He's not God's anointed anymore.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, he knows. Mm-hmm. He knows God and Saul broke up a long time ago.
Yeah.
And he knows
he keeps pretending.
Right. And he knows he's going to benefit from this. So he kills this poor guy and then gives him a fucking villain speech after he's dead where something about his blood is on his own hands.
Yeah. It's exactly the same kind of thing as when he was, almost going to kill Saul, when he had the chance to, but doesn't.
Right.
2 times that happened. Same thing where it's like, yeah, he's not actually the anointed,
right?
And you know that,
right? I did get a clear mental picture of David standing over this dude's body, saying, "Your blood is on your own head, and by your own admission, you
killed the Lord's anointed
one." Yeah, in a very villain-esque sort of way,
right?
Doesn't give me good vibe. I had
and I shall be my brother's keeper. Like Samuel Jackson,
I had real good David vibes, in most of the first book.
Yeah.
But towards the end of the first book, and then now going into the second book, I get real
it starts turning
creep vibes from him.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't get much better for him.
Absolute power.
It corrupts.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He's a good example of it. Yeah.
Also, Resident Alien.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think would make a great video game title.
So he was an Amalekite that was not in his homeland.
Right. I knew there was a reason why I was thinking that. So then it goes on. It says, David intoned this lamentation over Saul and his son Jonathan. And then it says in parentheses, he ordered that the song of the bow be taught to the people of Judah. It is written in the book of Jashar. And for those who don't remember, the book of Jashar was a collection of writings that probably went into the book of Joshua and Judges and stuff like that. But we don't have the actual book of Jashar left anymore. It's been lost to history.
So we don't have the Song of the Bow anywhere?
We do have that poem, yes.
Okay.
And this is the poem. Your glory, O Israel, lies slain upon your high places. How the mighty have fallen. Tell it not in Gath. Proclaim it not in the streets of Ashkelon, or the daughters of the Philistines will rejoice. The daughters of the uncircumcised will exult. You mountains of Gilboa, let there be no dew or rain upon you, nor bounteous fields. For there the shield of the mighty was defiled, the shield of Saul, anointed with oil no more. From the blood of the slain, from the fat of the mighty, the bow of Jonathan did not turn back, nor the sword of Saul return empty. Saul and Jonathan, beloved and lovely, in life and in death they were not divided. They were swifter than eagles, they were stronger than lions. O daughters of Israel, weep over Saul, who clothed you with crimson and luxury, who put ornaments of gold on your apparel. How the mighty have fallen in the midst of the battle. Jonathan lies slain upon your high places. I am distressed for you, my brother Jonathan. Greatly beloved were you to me. Your love to me was wonderful, passing the love of women. How the mighty have fallen, and the weapons of war perished. How could David have had Saul and Jonathan killed?
Right.
See how much he loved them.
Yeah, he made a song.
Yeah.
Which listen, I love you a lot, but I'm a little disappointed that you didn't sing that.
I don't know. I don't know what the tune would be.
I imagine it's very Catholic.
Very Catholic. Ah, yes. A genre I'm well familiar with.
Dirgy.
Yeah. Your glory, O Israel, lies slain upon your high places.
Well, now you just sound like you're singing a country song.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting little poem there.
Yeah.
And
he made everyone learn it.
Yeah.
It's a real power move.
Right. Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. He made everyone learn the poem about how David and Jonathan were
had a love
Jonathan's
beyond women.
love was passing the love of women.
Yeah. I mean, it is the talk about a real sort of propaganda piece of art, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is how much David respected and loved Saul and Jonathan. Mm-hmm. Of course, he had nothing to do with their deaths.
Right.
Why would he? You're new King David.
Yeah. By the way, like David is attributed with a lot of poetry. Like a lot of the Psalms are considered Psalms of David and stuff like that. But what I've come across is several people thinking that what the Bible actually means when he says he wrote it was like, it's like saying you built a house. You probably paid somebody to build the house.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So he had these commissioned, likely, you know. Any of the ones that are like actually attributed to him, you know, like could legitimately be attributed
like
to
when
him.
You're watching a movie that has a king and they're like, get me a bard to write me a song.
Bard. Yeah.
About Jonathan and David.
Yeah.
I need it by the end of tonight.
What's the urgency?
Make
it steamy.
I got to get that shit out there so everyone has time to learn it by the time I become king.
Right.
So everyone knows how sad I am about this whole thing.
How sad I am about becoming king.
I reluctantly take this
which
promotion
I earned
with much higher pay and power.
Yeah. Captain Judah, Civil War. After this, David inquired of the Lord, "Shall I go up into any of the cities of Judah?" The Lord said to him, "Go up." David said, "To which shall I go up?" He said, "To Hebron." So David went up there, along with his 2 wives, Ahinoam of Jezreel and Abigail, the widow of Nabal of Carmel. David brought up the men who were with him, every one of his household, and they settled in the towns of Hebron. Then the people of Judah came, and there they anointed David king over the house of Judah. When they told David, it was the people of Jabesh Gilead who buried Saul. David sent messengers to the people of Jabesh Gilead and said to them, "May you be blessed by the Lord, because you showed this loyalty to Saul, your Lord, and buried him. Now, may the Lord show steadfast love and faithfulness to you. And I, too, will reward you because you have done this thing. Therefore, let your hands be strong and be valiant. For Saul, your Lord, is dead, and the house of Judah has anointed me king over them." You might remember when Saul died, there was a verse saying that these people from Jabesh Gilead went and got him. They had like hung him on the wall. And so these folks went and got him, and they didn't bury him. They burned him, actually. They cremated him. But they and then I think they put his bones to rest someplace. But so that's what he's talking about here, those people. And it's an interesting thing because like it sounds like a boring piece of bullshit where he's just restating what happened. But actually what he's doing here is he's saying, "Hey, you did this really great thing. I'm glad you did that. I'm now king down here. You know, let's be cool."
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
He's trying to like make a political move a little bit here and get support, you know? And then Hebron was the principal city of the Calebites, the leading clan in Judah. Both of the wives are from Calebite regions, but Abigail's dead husband Nabal seemed to be a Calebite leader, which would have strengthened David's claim to the throne. So there's a lot of stuff going on here where he's like shoring up. Like it sounds like stuff that's easily missed and everything, but it's stuff that he's doing to build himself up a good claim to the throne.
Gotcha.
Even though he's not part of the royal family or anything like that,
Right. And they just had to throw that very brief conversation with God in there, so it made it sound like it wasn't his decision.
Right, to go to Hebron and stuff. Yeah, I guess.
Can we also talk about how God just isn't very, we know this from the Bible, but God's not super succinct in his communication. I feel like he could have just been like, yeah, go to Hebron. Yeah. Like, why did you have to ask a follow-up question?
Right, well, yeah. Also, it's interesting, though, that this is the most we've seen. Like, that's it for this episode.
Oh, really?
For God.
That's it?
Yeah.
And it literally is just a device to make it look like it... David didn't choose to go to Hebron.
Right. Yeah.
God said to go to Hebron.
Yeah. It's interesting how little God shows up during David's story, almost like David wanted credit for all of his victories and stuff like that, and it wasn't going to be given to God.
Right.
Is
what it kind of seems. Off.
You would think so. Yeah.
Based on, I don't know, the rest of the Bible.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, if God was real, then it would. But obviously, this is being written by the people David paid to have. And we'll get into that next episode, talk a little bit more about like who wrote this compared to who wrote Chronicles, and all that stuff. But Abner, son of Ner, commander of Saul's army, had taken Ishbaal, son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim. He made him king over Gilead, the Ishurites, Jezreel, Ephraim, Benjamin, and all Israel. Ishbaal, Saul's son, was 40 years old when he began to reign over Israel, and he reigned 2 years. But the house of Judah followed David. The time that David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months. So now we have a split kingdom again.
Right, because Judah anointed David and Abner.
Abner. Yeah. Abner, son of Ner.
Abner. I just assume
that's his last name.
Yeah. Ner.
Abner.
It just made me laugh when you said Abner, son of Ner. And I'm like...
It's funny because until you laughed, it never clicked for me that, Ner is in his name.
Right. Which I'm sure was on purpose. Right.
It probably, Abner probably means son of Ner.
Son of Ner, yeah. But it just, in my head, I was like...
Son of Ner.
In my head, I was like, Abner Ner. So he has, what's the son's name?
Ishbaal,
son of Saul, which also is a fun mouthful to say.
Oh, yeah.
Ishbaal, son of Saul.
Yeah. I think next episode, Michal shows up again, and it's Michal, daughter of Saul.
I thought the sons of Saul, multiple, were supposed to have died.
Yeah, that's what it said. And then there's this son who we have not heard of
ever
before. Yeah.
Very convenient that there's another son floating around out there that we had no idea.
A son who was not in battle, which, as the story goes on, kind of sounds like might have been like he wasn't really a fighter.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure Samuel said you and your sons will die.
Well, that's interesting. I don't remember that. He might have.
In his little float through the floor seance scene.
In that scene. Let's see.
I thought he said that they were him and his sons. Unless Saul was rocking like 5 sons and we didn't know, and like 2 of them died. I guess that would fill that qualification.
So it does say at the end, tomorrow you and your sons shall be with me.
Right. Which is implied because he's dead.
Right.
That they will be dead.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just took that to mean all of
his sons.
Again, he could have 5. It sounds like he had a lot of kids we didn't know about.
Right.
So if Jonathan and another son died, that I guess fills the qualification of the pluralized son.
I like how legalistic, and you're right to do it because that's what you got to do with the Bible. But I love how legalistic we're getting about this zombie of Samuel saying, well, he used the plural. It's what always pisses me off about biblical scholar debates. It's like, all right, seriously, do we really give a shit? It's
This guy's
about
a ghost.
fucking zombie.
He's a ghost.
Or a ghost.
Yeah. There was no shed.
That's why he was so pissed.
Okay, so clearly not all of his sons are with Samuel now.
Right.
There's one that is now
Ishbaal,
the king of all the other tribes of Israel except for Judah.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah.
Okay, and he reigned for 2 years.
It says that he reigns for 2 years.
And then David reigns for 7 years
in Hebron.
Not just over the tribe of Judah though, or is there other
That's actually
kings?
A really good point that I didn't think of.
Are there other kings that pop up after?
Well, actually, Ishbaal, no. So it's going to go back to a unified kingdom pretty shortly. Within 2 years, Abner, son of Ner, and the servants of Ishbaal, son of Saul, went out from Mahanaim to Gibeon. Joab and the servants of David went out and met them at the pool of Gibeon. One group sat on one side of the pool, while the other sat on the other side of the pool. Abner said to Joab, "Let the young men come forward and have a contest before us." Joab said, "Let them come forward." So they came forward and were counted as they passed by, 12 for Benjamin and Ishbaal, son of Saul, and 12 of the servants of David. Each grasped his opponent by the head and thrust his sword in his opponent's side, so they fell down together. Therefore that place was called Helkath Hazurim, which is at Gibeon. The battle was very fierce that day, and Abner and the men of Israel were beaten by the servants of David. So this sounds like a fun game.
I'm totally confused about what happened.
I know. It's really confusing. So I think what we can take away from this is that they decided to, whether or not this is real is totally separate. It's what they're trying to say. I think that what they're trying to say is there was some sort of contest, like a fighting contest that they were going to do between the fighters of the North against the fighters of the South.
Okay.
And it got out of hand and it turned into a war, basically.
Well, that is not what it sounds like to me at all. Because the way they described it, I pictured these 12 men, each facing an opponent from the opposite side, and then they both stab each other in the sides at the same time.
Yeah, they grab each other's heads and then stab
at the same time.
And then they fall over together.
And they all die.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what did that solve?
I know. That's totally the visual.
That sounds like a tie to me.
Yeah. It sounds like a tie. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, it sounds pointless for sure.
But then they go on to talk about like Abner and Ishbaal. For some reason, I keep wanting to say Ishmael.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Ishbaal got their asses whooped by the servants of David, is what it says. So so really, was it that the servants of David stabbed all of the other guys in the side and they died? Or does it literally...
It says, so they fell down together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Each grasped his opponent by the head and thrust his sword in his opponent's side.
And the battle was fierce that day, so was there a additional battle after that?
Well, that's why I'm saying it sounds like it starts with this contest, whatever that actual contest was, some sort of fighting contest.
It wasn't.
But then it descends
each other at the same time.
That's how it's described.
That's not a contest.
Yeah. They hadn't yet figured out.
Nobody won or lost.
They hadn't yet figured out how to do contests. They knew that they wanted to see it, but
this is the whole point of this. If all 12 of them die at the same time,
it's like going to a boxing match and they both have guns
and stand very calmly across from each other and put guns up to each other's head and just shoot at the same time. 1, 2.
Yeah. And still, it'll be rigged.
It seems less of a contest than like the go 20 paces and turn around and shoot the other person.
Right.
Because at least then you're using your quick draw skills.
Yeah.
To
There's at least some skills
win that
involved.
fight. But this literally felt like they like did this whole ceremonial thing where they all Harry carried fucking each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there was a war because I don't know. All of them died at the same time. I don't understand.
But David's ones did it better.
Yes. Is it like who fell on top of the other person?
Yeah.
Like was it
we win?
Was it literally like you grabbed each other's head and then whatever way you fell, whoever was on top, like fucking rolling a dice or flipping a coin. This is like old school, Old Testament fucking coin flipping.
Yeah. You can't flip a coin unless somebody's dead at the end.
Your heads, your tails.
Yeah. Kill each other over it.
Somebody call it.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
They just throw a broken pool cue in there like
Very
he's the fucking
odd.
Joker.
Very odd.
So regardless of what happens here, there is war between the two nations.
Yes. Well,
which makes sense.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The three sons of Zariah were there: Joab, Abishai, and Asahel. Now, Asahel was as swift of foot as a wild gazelle. Asahel pursued Abner, turning neither to the right nor to the left as he followed him. Then Abner looked back and said, "Is it you, Asahel?" He answered, "Yes, it is." Abner said to him, "Turn to your right or to your left and seize one of the young men and take his spoil." But Asahel would not turn away from following him. Abner said again to Asahel, "Turn away from following me. Why should I strike you to the ground? How then could I show my face to your brother Joab?" But he refused to turn away. So Abner struck him in the stomach with the butt of his spear, so that the spear came out at his back. He fell there and died where he lay. And all those who came to the place where Asahel had fallen and died stood still. It's so fucking.
What's the fucking point of that?
I know it really kind of starts
like
descending into this weird thing that's like obviously been rewritten a few times.
You know what it feels like?
Huh.
An anime.
Oh, does it? Yeah.
And I
like
pictured them like Naruto running through the woods with their arms behind them. and Abner's in front being like, "Fucking stop following me. Turn to the right or left and get one of those dudes." And the guy's like,
I love how he's throwing his own people under the bus there.
Right. Why was this guy on his side? Was this one of his people?
No, the one going after him is not. No,
but his brother.
So Abner obviously is part of the north, but these people are from the south, from Judah. Yeah, they're David's folks that are going after him.
Okay, but Joab
is also from the south.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But why?
Yeah, he makes that. But you're right. He says, "How would I look at your brother again?" Or whatever it was. How could I face your brother Joab? Yeah. Why does he say that?
Right.
It's a really good question because of it's a really good question because of what happens to Abner after this.
Okay.
It's an interesting thing that he's saying that.
So he hits him with the butt of his sword.
With the butt of his spear.
The butt of his spear.
Which I think would basically be like a broom handle.
Stick. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that goes through him.
Yeah.
Which also made me think of an anime.
Yeah.
And also in a very creepy way.
Which is weird because it's trying to say that Abner wasn't trying to kill him, but did.
Yeah.
In a way that he might as well have been trying to kill him.
In a fucking weird, grotesque way.
Yeah.
Could you imagine trying to just gut punch somebody with something to like knock them out and then you see the end of your spear come through their fucking spine?
Yeah.
Blech.
Yeah. But Joab and Abishai pursued Abner. The Benjaminites rallied around Abner and formed a single band. They took their stand on top of a hill. Then Abner called to Joab, "Is the sword to keep devouring forever? Do you not know that the end will be bitter? How long will it be before you order your people to turn from the pursuit of their kinsmen? Joab said, As God lives, if you had not spoken, the people would have continued to pursue their kinsmen, not stopping until morning. Joab sounded the trumpet, and all the people stopped. They no longer pursued Israel or engaged in battle any further. Abner and his men traveled all that night, and, marching the whole forenoon, they came to Mahanaim. Joab returned from the pursuit of Abner, and when he had gathered all the people together, there were missing of David's servants 19 men besides Asahel. But the servants of David had killed of Benjamin 360 of Abner's men. They took up Asahel and buried him in the tomb of his father, which was at Bethlehem. Joab and his men marched all night, and the day broke upon them at Hebron. Oh, you want me to stop trying to kill you? Why didn't you say so sooner? By the way, I forgot to mention this earlier. Joab is David's nephew, because I don't think they tell us this until a little bit later.
Oh, for one of his 12 brothers or whatever.
Yeah, he's actually one of his sister's kids.
Okay.
They say Zariah were the three sons of Zariah were there. And Zariah was his sister.
Ah, okay. So the guy he killed is also the guy that got speared. Was
a also nephew of David's. Yes. Yep. And Joab's going to end up serving as his commander. Gotcha.
It was interesting the way they talked about the numbers, because they were 19 of David's men died and
360.
Well, no, yeah. 19 and then this one guy also.
Besides Asahel. Yeah, so 20. So 20.
Right.
Got to make it a round number.
Right.
Yeah.
But also you have to pull him out specifically.
Right.
Because you talked about him already, I guess.
I guess so.
Instead of just saying 20, because then are people going to be including?
Yeah.
Or without?
Oh, God. Today there would be books written about it. And
then 360 of the other side.
Yeah.
So, they got thoroughly.
But is that including yeah. Yeah, so obviously, David's men killed way more of them.
Sure. Which was foretold at the end of the part of the book where they stabbed each other in the side. And then they said that David was victor, basically.
Yeah, which is interesting because I wasn't sure. I was seeing that as its own incident, and then this is separate. But you might be right that maybe that's describing this as well.
Because this felt like this was very much right after that.
Right. Yeah.
Because Abner took off, and
it was very quickly after
they gave chase.
They gave chase. Yeah. You can totally see this being a movie or something like that.
Again, I'm getting super crazy anime vibes.
Yeah, anime. Totally. Sure. Totally. Yeah. Hold my beer, Nick Cannon.
Uh-oh.
And and we get this. There was a long war between the house of Saul and the house of David. David grew stronger and stronger, while the house of Saul became weaker and weaker. Sons were born to David at Hebron. His firstborn was Amnon of Ahinoam of Jezreel. His second was Chileab of Abigail, the widow of Nabal of Carmel. The third was Absalom, son of Maacah, daughter of King Tamali of Geshur. The fourth was Adonijah, son of Haggith. The fifth was Shephatiah, son of Abital. And the sixth was Ithream, of David's wife Eglah. These were born to David in Hebron. Yeah, so sounds like David had a few more marriages.
Well, it didn't even, they didn't even call, they called the first two and the last one his wife.
Oh, that's a good point.
They didn't call the rest of them his wife.
Yeah.
One of them was the wife of or the daughter of a king, or the wife of.
Yeah, Absalom, the son. Third was, Absalom was the son. Maacah was the daughter of King Tamali of Geshur.
Yeah.
So
all his babies had different mamas except two. right? Or was that a different wife than one of the first ones? Was that a new wife?
No, so they're all from different moms.
I see.
Yeah,
I wondered if you were with the Nick Cannon reference, if you were going with a lot of babies with different baby mamas, or like a Wild and Out episode.
I was going with I was just going with a lot of babies.
Yeah, with different baby mamas.
Yeah. But he does also descend into Yo Mama jokes coming soon. Right. So, yeah, that's how he starts fighting his enemies.
The battle of words.
Yeah. So, it was just kind of interesting, though, that like he's got all of these kids that are popping out. But you're right. One of those does seem to be one for political reasons, obviously, since her dad is a king. And then Chileab is from Abigail, who is
the widow of the guy who used to run the area.
Right. Yeah.
Or one of the people.
He was high up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Chileab never comes up again.
Okay.
The Septuagint apparently calls him Daluia, and the genealogy at the beginning of First Chronicles calls him Daniel.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So just yet again,
but not that
the Bible being perfect.
Right.
No, like there's the prophet Daniel, I believe. Yeah, later. But
my favorite one of the kids' names is Nom Nom.
Nom.
Nom Nom Nom.
Yeah. The first one.
Yeah.
Amnon of Ahinom.
Amnon
of Ahinom.
Oh yeah, he's spending a lot of his time spreading seed.
Mm-hmm.
Getting the bloodline out there, I guess.
And we still haven't gotten to Solomon, the son that's going to end up taking over.
Oh, Solomon is his.
Yeah, his kid? Son. Yeah.
Okay.
He's going to be the next one in line.
A lot of pippas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you did back then, though. That's what
especially if you were king.
They say that, and also like that's also what religious people do a lot, is have a lot of kids, because then you're having people born into the.
Yeah, it's easier. It's
tribe.
Way easier to have a kid than to convert somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As many of our listeners probably know.
Yes.
While there was war between the house of Saul and the house of David, Abner was making himself strong in the house of Saul. Now Saul had a concubine whose name was Ritzbah, daughter of Aiah. And Ishbaal said to Abner, "Why have you gone in to my father's concubine?" The words of Ishbaal made Abner very angry. He said, "Am I a dog's head for Judah? Today I keep showing loyalty to the house of your father Saul, to his brothers and to his friends, and have not given you into the hand of David. Yet you charge me now with a crime concerning this woman? So may God do to Abner, and so may he add to it. For just what the Lord has sworn to David, that will accomplish for him, to transfer the kingdom of the house of Saul and set up the throne of David over Israel and over Judah, from Dan to Beersheba." And Ishbaal could not answer Abner another word, because he feared him. Abner sent messengers to David where he was, saying, "Make your covenant with me, and I will give you my support to bring all Israel over to you." He said, "Good, I will make a covenant with you. But one thing I require of you, you shall never appear in my presence unless you bring Saul's daughter Michal when you come to see me." Then David sent messengers to Saul's son Ishbaal, saying, "Give me my wife Michal, to whom I became engaged at the price of 100 foreskins of the Philistines." Ishbaal sent and took her from her husband, but her husband went with her, weeping as he walked behind her all the way to Bahurim. Then Abner said to him, "Go back home." So he went back.
What a fucking cuck.
I love that story.
Okay, let's unpack all of it. There was a lot of stuff that happened in that.
Yeah.
So the story starts with Ishbaal basically accusing Abner of using one of his father's concubines.
Using it, yeah. Yeah. No, you're totally.
I mean, his dead father's concubines.
Yeah.
So, which I assume are now his.
You would think, although that doesn't sound appealing.
And Abner gets super pissed and basically is like, I've done all of this stuff for you.
Yeah.
And like, you would probably not be alive today if it weren't for me.
Right.
And now you're accusing me of stealing your goods, basically.
Mm-hmm. Which, according to the footnote on this, it would have been the same as like committing treason or, like accusing somebody of committing treason.
Okay.
In this case, because it's like you're trying to place yourself as king by having sex with the king's concubine. Yeah.
Stupid.
I know.
So he gets super pissed. I feel probably rightfully so. I mean, honestly.
Sounds like he's done a lot.
You've done all this shit for this kid who hasn't done, sounds like anything for himself. And now the kid's like, you put your penis in my dad's lady.
Why did you put your penis in my dad's lady?
I saw you come out of her room. What are you doing in there?
Shut up, Ishbaal.
And
he's 40.
Right.
But that's why I'm like,
he
didn't seem like he's the fighting type.
Right.
So that's probably why he's still alive.
So Abner, in his pissed offedness, goes to David and is like, hey, this dude sucks. I hate him. Mm-hmm. How about we come up with an idea for you to be the king of everything? And David's like, sure. Okay. Bring me my fucking wife, though.
Right. Yeah.
And if you come before me without her, I swear to God.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen to you. Nope, I do. I'm going to kill you.
Right. But then
he sends a note to
Ishbaal about it
to say,
too.
Send me my wife. And Ishbaal's like, cool, I will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Enemy.
Who's his sister?
Yeah.
Ishbaal, it's his sister.
Enemy of mine. Here, exactly what you asked for.
Right.
And sends McCall on her way with her husband following behind her crying.
Yeah, that's the best part of this. I really like this one.
And Abner's like, go home. Okay. I will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I just totally got full on cut by David.
Yeah.
Starting with the guy chasing after Abner up until this point, and probably whatever you're going to say after this, or this is all weird.
It really is stuff. Weirdly written. Yeah. Abner reaches out to the elders throughout Israel and advocates for making David king over all the tribes. Then Abner shows up with some men at David's place in Hebron, and David makes a feast for them. Abner says he'll rally Israel for David, and David sends him off in peace. It makes a big deal. Send him off in peace.
Yeah.
Right.
I assume McCall must have shown up by then, or else.
You assume that she was with them. They don't mention it, and she does show up later. I think in the next episode we'll talk about her again. So she definitely does end up being in David's possession again. Like, that's really the only way you can describe it.
For sure.
She, like, especially with what we get to when we come back to her later.
But their little relationship was so cute in the first book.
I know. She helped make sure he could escape.
Right. She did the
Ferris Bueller
dummy in the bed thing. Yeah.
Yeah. She Ferris Buellered her dad.
Yeah.
Just then, the servants of David arrived with Joab from a raid, bringing much spoil with them. But Abner was not with David at Hebron, for David had dismissed him, and he had gone away in peace. It was told to Joab, Abner, son of Ner, came to the king, and he has dismissed him, and he has gone away in peace. Then Joab went to the king and said, "What have you done? Abner came to you? Why did you dismiss him so that he got away? You know that Abner, son of Ner, came to deceive you and to learn your comings and goings and to learn all that you are doing." When Joab came out from David's presence, he sent messengers after Abner, and they brought him back. But David did not know about it. When Abner returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside in the gateway to speak with him privately, and there he stabbed him in the stomach. So he died on account of the blood of Asahel, Joab's brother. Afterward, when David heard of it, he said, I and my kingdom are forever guiltless before the Lord for the blood of Abner, son of Ner. May the blood guilt fall on the head of Joab and on all his father's house. And may the house of Joab never be without one who has a discharge, or who has a defiling skin disease, or who holds a spindle, or who falls by the sword, or who lacks food. So Joab and his brother Abishai murdered Abner because he had killed their brother Asahel in the battle of Gibeon. Yeah.
So I get his paranoia, Joab, right?
Yeah.
Also, I get he's mad that he killed his brother. I get those two things.
Mm-hmm.
I get him killing him. He's not really a guy to be trusted, honestly. You know, he is
Abner.
He is just newly from the other side.
Yeah.
And he had been under Saul for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
So he comes back and Joab kills him secretly, kind of, I guess. David finds out.
Or at least spontaneously enough that nobody could do anything.
And it's important to say that David didn't know that Joab called Abner back.
Right.
And that Joab killed him out of sight, right?
Yeah.
Secretly, sort of thing.
Right. What's interesting, though, is like when Joab says, like, why did you let him go and all that stuff? It never says what David responds with to that,
right.
You know?
Yeah.
It just says when he went out of David's presence.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. So now Joab's whole family is cursed.
Yeah.
By David.
Right. Who is his family.
Oh, yeah. By the way.
Yeah.
Of course.
It's his uncle.
That totally slipped my brain. So he cursed his family and all of his family. So his brothers, all of their children. Yeah. Maybe it's one of those things that is only like a direct descendant thing. I don't know.
It's Joab and on all his father's house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So not his sisters.
Right.
Which is David's sister.
Okay.
But it's all of his father's kids basically are screwed.
So he only cursed the line going down and then the dad and their family.
Yeah.
I gotcha. So there's a loophole there.
Yeah.
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 Okay. People in this line will always be cursed with one of these things.
Right.
A discharge.
Yeah.
So gross.
Right.
Was it sores?
Defiling skin disease.
Defiling skin disease.
Yeah.
Holding a spindle?
Yep.
Right there, in the middle,
those people.
Part of the middle of the cursed sandwich, holding a spindle.
So it did. The footnote on this did say that it probably means a crutch.
Okay.
I don't know.
It sounds like they're cursing them to be fucking like Cinderella or something.
I know. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Like that they were cursed to be like a seamstress or something. Yeah.
And then what are the last two?
Someone who falls by the sword or who lacks food.
Okay. So they're either going to have a discharge, a defiling skin disease, die on a sword.
Yeah.
Or starve.
Yeah.
Or hold a spindle.
Or hold a spindle. I know which one I'm hoping for.
Oh no, I have to make clothing for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
This curse is terrible.
What's funny though is it doesn't seem to stop him from making this guy the commander of his army.
And he doesn't get any of those curses then?
Not that they mention.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Oh, one interesting idea I heard about this was it's possible that Joab was worried he'd lose his position as commander to Abner. So Joab hasn't been named commander yet, though. That's the problem with this theory. But he might be shooting for becoming commander.
He probably feels like like up there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And sure, Abner could slide in and take that. It feels like something that I would want to do if I were Abner and I was defecting to the other side.
Yeah.
I have all of this experience.
Yeah.
And I know the other side really, really well. Why wouldn't you?
He's bringing support over.
And I brought your wife.
Yeah.
I brought you more pussy.
Yeah. I could have brought you a crying dude, but I chose not to.
I sent him home. I did the right thing. Why wouldn't you want to make me one of the most important people in your life?
Yeah.
Even without that, which totally makes sense, there is still like a bit of paranoia, obviously, that Joab is saying because he just thinks that he's a spy.
Yeah.
But really what we are meant to believe is that, and to me makes sense, is that he's just pissed because the dude killed his brother and now is being like brought into the fold.
Right.
Or at least forgiven and allowed to live.
Yeah. Then David said to Joab and to all the people who were with him, "Tear your clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourn over Abner." And King David followed the bier. They buried Abner at Hebron. The king lifted up his voice and wept at the grave of Abner, and all the people wept. The king lamented for Abner, saying, "Should Abner die as a fool dies? Your hands were not bound, your feet were not fettered. As one falls before the wicked, you have fallen." And all the people wept over him again. Then all the people came to persuade David to eat something while it was still day. But David swore, saying, "So may God do to me and more, if I taste bread or anything else before the sun goes down." All the people took notice of it, and it pleased them, just as everything the king did pleased all the people. So all the people and all Israel understood that day that the king had no part in the killing of Abner, son of Ner. And the king said to his servants, "Do you not know that a prince and a great man has fallen this day in Israel? Today I am powerless, even though anointed king. These men, the sons of Zeruiah, are too violent for me. The Lord pay back the one who does wickedly in accordance with his wickedness." How could David have anything to do with Abner being killed? He mourned after him and cursed those who killed him.
Yeah, didn't eat, and everybody loved it.
And everybody loves
like they love everything that he does.
Yeah.
What?
I know, heavy-handed, right?
Oh my God. How can anyone read that and be like, this doesn't feel good?
Right.
Something's going on here.
So, yeah, I know.
What are they trying to get me to believe?
Yeah. And it's in the Bible.
Yeah.
You know, like,
right.
It's blatant political shit.
Right.
Written into the Bible.
Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
I don't know. A lot of people are
going
to be like, well, yeah, duh. And I'm like, yeah, but
well,
still.
I mean, yeah, obviously. Definitely. That's kind of the whole point of the Bible.
Yeah. And as I'm coming to learn, but man, there are times where it really does like.
Yeah, they're not hiding it.
Yeah.
They're not being creative in the propaganda and the way they're feeding it to people. It's very blatant.
Yeah. And it's old propaganda.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't have anything to fucking do with anybody anymore.
I know perhaps we have listeners that are different from us politically. And that's cool. Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
But 100% when they were like, and all the people loved it, and they love everything he does. I was like, oh my God, this is Donald Trump. 100%, because that 100% sounds like something he would say.
Yeah.
And I didn't eat all day today, and everybody loved it, just like everybody loves all the things that I do.
I barely eat anything.
I mean,
I'm very physically fit.
Even if you are a Trump person, it's weird that you're listening to this podcast, but even if you are a Trump person, you have to admit that 100% is something he would say.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Fucking. And he would think people believed it, too.
Yeah, and I think David thinks people believe it, too.
Right. So that's it for this week.
Right on. Wow,
yeah.
This is
I know.
Some weird stuff. And it's not weird. Like, we've definitely had weirder things that have happened in the Bible that we've talked about. Like, people coming up out of floorboards and donkeys
getting swallowed by fish
and shit like that. But like, just the series of events, Abner's series of unfortunate events.
I think we just figured out the name of the episode.
It's all the stuff that it felt very much like a soap opera.
Yeah.
Like, these are the days of our lives.
Oh yeah. I think what's funny is you're saying that, and literally the next previously on BSFA starts with a note saying it's like a soap opera.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. So next time on BSFA, we're gonna get into a new story about the Ark.
Oh, no,
of the Covenant.
Oh.
No. No, that one's done.
Okay.
No, the other Ark.
Okay.
The Ark of the Covenant.
Ark with a C and not a K.
No, they both are spelled the same.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that doesn't make any sense.
It does when you know, like, I can't remember off the top of my head what Ark means.
It's
but
a holder of things.
Yeah,
probably.
I think so. It's something like that.
All right.
Yeah.
It's like calling a fucking cruise ship a box and then also calling your Amazon package a box.
Yeah. And then saying my box sank in the ocean.
Right.
So anyway, we get a new story about the God box, and then we also get into First Chronicles.
Okay.
For real.
Sounds fun.
They all lived, well, some of them at least, lived miserably ever after. Thank you so much for checking out our podcast. Help us grow the audience by sharing us with your friends or giving us a share on social media. And we love hearing from you. You can reach out on our website at bsfa.cc.
That's a weird
It's
noise.
stuck to the top of to the roof of your mouth. Yeah. It's hot.
That's hot.
It's hot.
Okay.
I like how you got so much suction in the top of your mouth.